Guys, it's Kim here. Today we'll be making pho. Pho is like one of me and my boyfriend's favorite things to eat on the weekend. And we've eaten it like so many times by now that I was just kind of like, why don't I try making it myself? I don't have most of these ingredients on hand, so I'll be taking you guys to a grocery store at an Asian mart called Lottie Market. One of the ingredients on the recipe was beef bones, and that could be found in like the meat section, obviously. And they're just like packaged beef bones that sometimes are labeled as beef soup bones. And I grabbed about 5 to 6 pounds of them. What might be kind of confusing to get are maybe like the seeds. I got everything in a pho seasoning packet that came with like everything, including a cheesecloth, which is the reason why I bought the seasoning packet rather than the seasons individually. With the cheesecloth, it's easier to like strain everything out of my broth later. And there would be like a picture of a woman selling pho, and usually it just says pho seasoning packet on it, I believe. If you can't find the seasoning packet, don't worry, you could always just buy the seasoning individually. The meatballs are usually in the frozen section. I like to get the beef meatballs. You could use any kind of meat you'd like. I got beef and tendon. The noodles are in the refrigerator section. Usually you see a whole wall of just noodles. And the noodles you want are the small, thin pho noodles. And usually it's labeled as pho noodles right on it. So starting off this recipe, we want to boil 2 different pots of water. One of the pots will be for like actually just cleaning the bones and preparing it for the actual broth. And the second pot will be for the actual broth. Since we don't want to waste our time boiling water all day, we're just going to do it both at the same time. So in your first pot, add in your beef bones, and we're gonna cook it for about 20 minutes. Then after 20 minutes, you could dump out all the water and pour the bones into a strainer and just rinse it off, trying to get it clean and lightly scrub it a little. Okay, this is gonna look a little crazy on camera, but what I'm gonna do is roast some onions on my stovetop. So we're just gonna cut our onions in half and put it over the flame, and we're just gonna cook it until it browns a little. You want to do this on low heat or else there will be like lots of burning. But I would recommend just doing all this inside your actual oven and broiling it for like 15 minutes. You need to take your onions once it's done cooking and just peel off the skin, and then just scrape off the black parts because we don't want the black parts to get into our soup. We want the flavors from our seeds to like kind of get enhanced or released. So we're gonna toast our seeds. I'm gonna show you the inside of my seasoning packet. It comes with the cheesecloth that I mentioned earlier. If you don't have a cheesecloth, you could always get one of those tea leaf strainers, I believe. And you just toast this on a pan for about like 5 minutes or until you start smelling like the aroma of the seeds kind of just coming out from it. And you'll be able to tell because it'll kind of like hit you, like it'll start smelling like a Chinese herbal shop inside your house. You're kind of walking across the street from a herbal shop, but you'll still smell the herbal shop somehow. That's how my apartment smelled like, which was actually not so bad for some reason. Usually I'm really put off from the smell, but it was kind of pleasant that day. Once the seeds are done toasting, remove it from the heat. Put the cheesecloth over a cup and pour the seeds into the cheesecloth. To make it a little easier to pour, I did put the seeds in a bowl beforehand. Tighten your cheesecloth and tie it up, and it's ready to go. So in the pot, you just go ahead and toss in your beef bones, the onions, and other things things like the fish sauce, salt, and brown sugar, seeds that are in the cheesecloth, and go ahead and dump in your giant piece of meat. For meat, you have a choice of flank steak, brisket, or chuck roast. The meat is really important to bring in some flavor. So the amount of water you want is about like 1 inch above like everything you have in the pot. We're gonna bring this to a boil, and then once it's boiling, you lower it down to medium heat and simmer it for about 3 hours. And you just remove the scum as you go. Now you just strain everything and you remove the aromatics and the onion, and you take out the meat, of course. You want a nice clear broth, so strain it all out. And you take out the meat, of course. What we're gonna do to our big piece of meat is we're gonna run it under cold water, and then we're gonna go ahead and chop it up in bite-sized pieces. And I know in the video I have like these humongous bite-sized pieces, but that was kind of the best of my ability when it comes to like knife skills and cutting stuff. I probably should have just cut them into cubes at that point. So you're gonna see like some chunky meat in my pho. To cook your beef meatballs, you just cook them directly in your pho broth for about 10 to 12 minutes, or until it's heated through.
Yeah.
To cook the noodles, you just cook it for 30 seconds in boiling water and just quickly strain it. And now you could finally assemble together your noodles. And in a large bowl, you just go ahead and add in the noodles, your meat, the meatballs.
Right here.
I did also throw in some pieces of brisket here. If you'd like, you could add in the extra stuff like bean sprouts, lime wedges, and Thai basil leaves, but I'm doing like the bare minimal here and not adding any of that. Normally when I'm out eating pho, I normally don't add these things, so I didn't bother putting them in my recipe. But I did add in some thinly sliced onions and some green onions. If you want any condiments to your pho, you can have hoisin sauce, which is a sweet sauce, or rooster sauce, which is actually sriracha sauce, but I like to call it rooster, and that's a spicy sauce. I prefer just dipping my meat into the sweet sauce in a little dish on the side, but my boyfriend loves to drown his soup in sriracha sauce. It's really up to you what you want to do with it. Some of us are like purists and prefer not to do anything to the broth and enjoy it as it is.
It's hot.